Welcome to the Puzzle Piece Exegete. My name is Stephen Rodriguez, and our Greek word for the day is the word tapeinophrosynē. Tapeinophrosynē. And I know that's a mouthful and a very long word in Greek, but it essentially means humility. Or more literally, we probably could say humility of mind, because it takes two Greek words, humble and mind, and it crashes it together. That's why it's so long. And we have this idea of an attitude of humility. Now, something important to remember, especially in the first century Greco-Roman context, is that being humble was not seen as a virtue. It was not something that was to be pursued. In fact, it was an indicator of social rank. It was the slave and the servant that was seen or was humble, right? They were subjected to a state of lowly rank. And so as a Roman individual, you would never pursue humility or being humble, because that was an indicator, again, someone who was inferior. Now we see Paul actually take this term and say, no, this is the way that Christians are supposed to live. In fact, Colossians 3:12, there are 5 virtues that Christians are to clothe themselves with, and one of those is tapeinophrosynē, humility. Now, I think one of the most important places we actually see this played out is in Philippians chapter 2, verse 3. This is where we read, "Do nothing from selfish or empty conceit, but with humility, tapeinophrosynē, consider one another as more important than yourselves." And now this was especially important in Philippi, being that it was a Roman colony. A Roman colony would have a higher percentage of Roman citizens, where anywhere you would have 14% across the empire, you'd probably have more close to 40%, because you would have retired veteran soldiers that would camp there. A Roman colony was seen like a mini Rome, right? And so Philippi was seen like a mini Rome in Macedonia. And so you imagine you're in a church setting in Philippi, and you're a Roman citizen, maybe a veteran soldier, and you hear this letter from Paul and saying, consider others more important than yourselves, which means your brother or sister in Christ who is a slave, and you're a Roman citizen, a veteran soldier, and you're to consider them more important than yourselves. That is upside down thinking. And yet Paul says this is the way that we are to live. And why? Because it's the way that Jesus lived. A few verses later, we see that Jesus did not consider equality with God, right, something to be grasped, but took the very form of a servant, of a slave, and became obedient to death, right? Even death on a cross. He humbled himself, right? And so he humbled himself by taking the form of the lowliest rank, right, that would be considered within a Roman Greco context. And he humbled himself by taking the most humiliating form of death possible in a Greco-Roman context, and that's crucifixion. And he considered others more important than himself, right? He had this mindset of tapeinophrosynē, of humility in his actions and the way that he lived his life. And so we too, as Christians, as little Christ, are to have this idea of tapeinophrosynē in our lives, embedded in our lives, humility clothed in our lives, in the way that we interact with not only people who are non-Christians, but people who are Christians, right? Especially kind of like in this climate right now, there is a lot of division in the church, and we are to consider others more important than ourselves. That's one of the recipes for unity in the church. Anyways, that's our Greek word for the day, tapeinophrosynē. Make sure to hit the subscribe button and the like, drop a comment. Till next time, you guys know the deal. Keep putting those puzzle pieces together. God bless.